Welcome to the Wizards of Ecom, your no-fluff playbook for online success. Each episode is fully packed with actionable tactics you can implement in your business right now. Take your life to a higher level and excel in your online success. It's time to work on you and your business. Let's do this. Welcome back to the Wizards of Ecom podcast. This is episode number 142. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I will be your host for this show. I will be riding solo on this episode as I was inspired to do this episode during some recent unplanned downtime in Austin, Texas, before speaking at the Rise conference put on by Dima Kubrak and Sellerize. I had a moment during this pre-event as we showed up. Tom and I showed up about a day early to the event, but I had a moment to catch up on Wizards of Ecom group messages, and I noticed a very large number of inquiries having to do with the infamous seller forums post posted by CMOD, which we're just referring to as an Amazon seller rules update, even though it's not officially a rule change yet. But the post, as you've probably heard, has to do with restrictions or clarifications on restrictions pertaining to certain ranking methods on Amazon. So in today's episode, I'm going to share, inspired by this, I'm going to share my opinions on this bit of news that was shared in the forums, and it seems to have really shook up the Amazon seller space when it comes to, the most popular ways to rank products on Amazon. So we're talking about private label products here. I'm not just going to read this to you because I'm sure you've read it yourself. I'll link to it in the show notes of the episode, but I'm going to share with you an approach I use when any platform I'm on makes a rule change, how I see ranking on Amazon moving forward with or without this forum post, and with or without any updates to terms of service, as well as what changes I'm making to my own strategies moving forward based on this rule change, since even myself, who considers themselves to be very, very white hat or light gray, has a few of my techniques were actually called out in this seller forum post. So before getting into any of this, I want to say first and foremost that any Amazon software that was affected by this, or any Amazon software that was shut down, it's my 100% hope that they return. Several friends of mine, have softwares that were affected by this, or are kind of living under this fear that they could be next. And I think that's a sucky place to be. It's unfair to be. Anytime Amazon comes like a thief in the night and just Thanos snaps people, I really hope that us as Amazon sellers, regardless of where you stand on whether this should be white hat or black hat or that whole debate, that, it's an opportunity for all of us to band together and, be sellers helping sellers. So I wish the absolute best for any seller that was affected by this, or any software that was affected by this. Actually, this morning, it looks like Amazon's beginning to walk back a little bit of this. Anyhow, I wanted to say that it's extremely important for me to say that, Wizards of Ecom, our motto, our hashtag is sellers helping sellers. And that extends to these softwares. Keep in mind, besides profitability, one of the greatest goals of these softwares is to help this community, specifically to help sellers navigate Amazon in an intelligent way, to be profitable, to achieve financial freedom, and to create a business asset that they can exit. So all the best. This should be, I'm going to try to keep this episode pretty short. We might run, 20, 25 minutes, but I do want to put this out there as cabins are going fast, but this is one last time to remind you guys, well, not last time, this is another opportunity to remind you guys that Online Seller Cruise sets sail on February 5th, and cabins are indeed going fast. If you're legitimately interested in growing your Amazon or e-commerce business with some of the brightest minds in the industry, feel free to grab your tickets at onlinesellercruise.com. Anytime a rule change is made on any platform that I'm selling, I have this filter or this approach, and I look at it as intention over literal. And with Amazon, I feel like this has helped me a great deal. it's been up until this crystal clear moderation post, Amazon's rules have been vague, ambiguous at best. So I feel that these rules were intended, this is like the intention over literal, like they were intended to be written in a way that helps Amazon, not to help sellers. So having said that, I know that they're probably intentionally written in vague terms so that they could help Amazon in the broadest of ways possible. If Amazon was to put out, I'm trying to use something in the past, like at one point, two-step URLs or super URLs at one point, Amazon many, many years ago, about 6 years ago, they came down hard on this and shut down a lot of accounts. So what happened immediately thereafter was a lot of us in the space just started, creating different types of URLs that were not the same as super URLs. And they did a different function. So for me, and again, this is just an opinion. If this is not something you want to adopt, that's all good. But I felt it was important to share this before really getting into this post by this moderator in the Amazon seller forums, is that for me, what was the intention? The intention when they came out with a rule a long time ago having to do with super URLs was, they're not wanting people to game their URLs and game the algorithm. So for me, the intention was pretty clear on that. So it didn't matter if you came out with a lot of other different types of URLs that did different functions. If those were meant to dupe the algorithm, then it wasn't what Amazon wanted. And now it's just a matter of time of whether it's going to be done at a scale to get Amazon's attention again. Ironically, super URLs, the only reason Amazon seemed to care and take action on that, many, many years ago, was that it went into the media. Media got a hold of it, sort of exposed it, bad practice that perhaps inferior quality products were beating superior quality products in search. And next thing you know, Amazon take action. Ironically, something similar has been happening lately, and Amazon seems to have taken action again. One of the, two techniques that I've been using in my current Amazon seller journey that according to this rule change or this clarification of the rules is, for me, verbal search find buys, which is something I spoke about a lot in previous episodes on the podcast. And that is where verbally, because I'm on an Amazon live video, myself or somebody on my team is instructing someone to perform a search and then go find a product and check out with it with a promo code we're showing on the screen. So in that sense, Amazon, if what is written in the forum is going to be considered as gospel, and if eventually Amazon gets around to actually updating their terms of service, then verbal search find buys, even though they're not specifically just search find buys, the intention of the rule and the intention of the clarification here for me would mean, yes, verbal search find buys would be off the table, and that would be seen as a way of gaming the algorithm. Excuse me. Something else they called out treasure hunts. The way they describe treasure hunts, you don't hear treasure hunts spoke about that much anymore. And treasure hunts, the way I do them, is not how Amazon called out, but I feel the need to bring it up here as it is something that I do across all of my brands. And you've probably heard me mention, whether if you've attended the meetup group or you may have heard me mention on previous episodes of the podcast. So for me, a treasure hunt was what everybody else sort of calls search find buy right now, but in a more manual sense. So what I've done, I think I first heard this from like a Scott Volger video. It has to be, it feels like 9 years ago, 8-9 years ago. And what it was just a picture of your product. I like using a GIF now, and it's in an email. And then underneath is a link to Amazon.com, not to your product. And it gives you a search word for you to search for, and then tells you the approximate page range where you can find it. This has been pretty much the central nervous system of my launches for as long as I can remember. I've been slowly moving away from it just because I feel that it's been a suspicion of mine, and it still hasn't been proven, but it's a suspicion of mine that, we jokingly say that the best place to hide a body is on page 2 on Amazon, right? Meaning somebody searches for the keywords you're going for. Nobody goes to page 2. It's like the best place to hide a body is what they say. So the reason I was slowly moving away from this is that I was just seeing so many people. It was like people had just started learning how to sell, were parroting this, do search, find, buy, do search, find, buy to everyone. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, everyone's doing this. Amazon's going to eventually have to do something about it. And at first I was like, well, it would be impossible for them to prove it. It's mimicking a good search. But then I was listening to, somebody speak at a conference. I don't remember which, and he was talking about like patterns in search, and it had nothing to do with this, but I applied it to it. And it was like, well, what would it take for Amazon's, advanced algorithm to say, all right, if somebody goes and searches for something and then goes to let's just say page 5 to find it, and then they buy it, what are the odds of that happening? Right? I would imagine that it's quite small. I'm not even going to risk putting a number out there, but, and then what are the odds of it happening twice in a day, 3 times in a day? And some people that use this solely as their ranking method are doing this 5, 10, 15, 30 times a day. And for me, that would be crystal clear that something abnormal was happening. So I don't know how they would deal with it. Before this seller forum post, Amazon did, I think I was reading in the ASGTG forum that they had begun seeing, or Amazon had begun sharing, that what they would do is they would sort of like shadow ban you on Amazon. Meaning if you were manipulating the algorithm like this, that you just wouldn't come up in search, which I think an account suspension would be worse, because at least there's a clear path to fight that. So I'm rambling a little bit, but I had already been leaning towards not doing these treasure hunt style search, find, buys. So think about it. I was doing search, find, buys, but I called them treasure hunts. In Amazon's forum post, treasure hunts was something totally different. Plus, I was doing verbal search, find, buys in my Amazon live video. So I have to look, really hard. Well, let me add this, and this isn't part of the forum, but I think this is going to make a lot of sense as we get to the end of this podcast. But another thing, I'm very reliant on email, and with Apple and the iOS changes, and now they're going to make a really big change coming up as it pertains to email. It seemed like my way of launching via email was under attack. It's still alive and well, but it was under attack, and I was going to need to do a few changes, and that's just what happens in business. So if you've heard me mentioning verbal search, find, buys on Amazon live video, I'm still doing them, but I'm waiting. I'm not making any changes in regards to what I'm doing until I see a TOS update. And then when that TOS update happens, I'm going to look at it. And if it is as crystal clear as what's out here right now in the forum, then I'll have to make some changes. I suspect that it's not. It's total guesswork here. I mean, in one of the lines of the forum, it even says, it starts naming off different URLs and ranking methods, or it says by any other name. So it's like they really covered their bases, and shockingly, we're super clear in this, which is strange for Amazon. So we'll see. Time will tell. Rebates. This post really called out rebates, and this forum post basically saying, rebates are not allowed. There's a lot of talk that, rebates, it's impossible for them to stop rebates. Rebates are something that have always existed. Rebates are a good business practice. Amazon is in the rebate game themselves. And, other people saying, well, Amazon's just doing this because they want to get into the rebate game and monetize it themselves. It's perhaps, I don't know. It'd be really easy to look at things that way. I personally have this look that, and again, anyone that offers rebate services, I'm 100% wanting you to get reinstated and be able to offer this and help tons of sellers that are using this service. Regarding rebates though, I don't feel it's a fair comparison to say that a rebate that you do in this way, where you do a full price buy on Amazon and then after the fact you get a rebate, is the same as going to, say, like Best Buy, and buying something because you were incentivized to do it because there was a substantial rebate. So the example would kind of be, if I go into Best Buy and I buy, I think I was just talking to Jamie Davidson about this actually. Jamie and I were at FBA Live, Athena and Titans event, absolutely fantastic event. But we were there and we're talking, and for me, you go to Best Buy and you go to buy a cell phone. I mentioned a cell phone because Jamie's built an amazing cell phone empire. But say I go to the back of Best Buy and I buy a cell phone, and I'm incentivized to buy it because it has let's just say an 80% rebate or whatever the rebate, but a really substantial rebate. And the quantity doesn't matter. It has a rebate, but that's what incentivizes me to buy it. Now, when I grab that cell phone case and I go up front and I check out with it, a whole bunch of people from Best Buy don't run to the back of the store, grab that whole display of cell phone cases, and then move it closer and closer every time somebody purchases until it's sitting right there by the register or at like a really sexy end cap in the store, right? On Amazon, though, that's exactly what happens. The Amazon algorithm sees a search, says, wow, this is highly relevant. People are into this search. When the people search for this, they buy this product and they move it closer to the top of page one, or, compared to the other example, the register, which will in turn get it more sales. And that's why 99% of people were using it. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to say it that way. I don't think rebates are gone. It just depends on I think it depends on the intention of why they're used. It depends on whether they're visible on Amazon or not. And hopefully Amazon does roll something out to where on platform you can take advantage of a rebate. I think that would be good business for them, and it would allow us another lever that we could throw in our ranking or scaling on Amazon. The thing I want to emphasize again here for this rule, and I wanted to stay away from like reading this whole not rule, this forum post out loud, just because you've probably read it a ton of times and it's quite long, but it goes into mentioning all the different ways, giveaways, rebates, the different types of URLs, and it pretty much ends each paragraph by saying, or by any other name. It even goes in so far as to say something about funnels and how funnels are not allowed. That was the one that I thought was the least clear of all the ones they mentioned. I think it's obvious that they're not talking about sales funnels, because that's like been around. Funnels of some type have been around since biblical days. I was having a really good debate with this in one of these like messenger chat, not a debate, a discussion with some really bright people in this messenger chat that I'm in. And it goes so far as to say no funnels, which is like, wow, like how are you going to evaluate that? I think the general consensus in this chat that I'm in, and I would agree with it, is it boils down to intention, and that this forum post at least makes it clear what they're saying. Look, let's not be ambiguous about this anymore. It's reached a point where everyone's talking about it. The media is talking about it. This is allowed and this is not allowed. This is also not a TOS rule change yet, guys. So everyone that I know is nervous about this. They're talking about this. They're wondering if they should take severe action on this right now. I think you should be aware that it's happening. I think my advice would be prepare for it to be a TOS rule, and like, just so in case it takes 4, 5, 6 months before it actually enters TOS, you're not caught with your proverbial pants down, so to speak, in your business. Don't let this be another instance where you used to be able to do 100% off promos to rank, and then from one day to the next you could not, and then you're like a 7, 8, 9 figure seller, and you're like, how do I rank now? Like, how do I succeed on Amazon now? So don't, this was a very reliable mod that posted this. Start planning my best advice to you would be to start planning for this to go into effect at some degree. And my guess, it's going to be less severe when it goes into TOS, or less clear when it goes into TOS than what it is now. And perhaps look at this as, even if TOS doesn't cover certain areas here, if you agree with my intention over literal interpretation of rules that come out is what is their intention? And I think that intention has been made clear. Finally, I know, let me say one more. I think, because this was a question I was getting a lot, and it was like, is search find buy going to stop? I don't think search find buy will ever stop. Let me say that. I'm going to say, if you get caught trying to game things by search find buy, then I think it's going to be set up to where you get penalized for that. But to give you an example, I never see a scenario where I say, hey, go search for my brand name on Amazon. That's normal. That's normal conversation. You would tell people, like, I'm drinking this Vital Proteins, I think it's collagen water. I don't know how I got this, but this Vital Proteins, right? So imagine if Vital Proteins is doing a social media post or an email blast, and they want to make everyone aware that they sell on Amazon. Technically, search find buy is telling someone to search for something and then buy it. So if I was to do a post that say, shop for us on Amazon, just search for Vital Proteins and on Amazon and shop our store, that is a search find buy. I mean, you're technically sending someone there so you can rank better on your branded keywords. Obviously, to me, it's obvious that Amazon has no issues with that. I think it's when we're getting into other types of keywords, like this is Vital Proteins, collagen water, blackberry, hibiscus. So when you start getting into search for flavored collagen water, and all this other stuff, and you'll find me on pages X through X, I think that's when, in Amazon's eyes, you're gaming what they have going on. In addition, I think there's another level to that. Like, let's say you did want to do that, and you did want someone to search for collagen water and then buy your product. What happens if you're running ads, and your ads are, your sponsored product ads are showing up in the right rail, your sponsored brand ad is showing up at the top for collagen water, and you tell someone to search for collagen water, and they do, and they click on your ad? I only see one way that Amazon is going to be able to, like, crack down on that. And if you're doing this naturally, I don't see you having any problems. It's normal. Like, the reason why you pay for ads and it shows up at the top of page 1 for your search is because you paid for ads, and that's what's supposed to happen. If your main image is great, if your price is great, people click on it. And if the rest of your listing is conversion worthy, you get the conversion. So that's normal. That's not going to raise any red flags. I think the only way a person's going to get hurt is if they either A, are sending people into page 2 and beyond to make this purchase via a search find buy, just because it's abnormal. We know page 2 is where you hide a body. And the other one is going to be the buyer score. So if you're going to, like, a pool of buyers, and these buyers have low buyer scores, that I don't think it even matters if it's on page 1 and it's an ad. It's like, wait a minute, like, here are a bunch of what Amazon perhaps consider bad actor buyers, and you have a high percentage of them actually making this purchase for your product, and they all happen to be buying via the ad, and you're not anywhere organic. I think Amazon puts a little more scrutiny towards that. But search find buy as a whole, I don't think it ever goes away. You recommend your brand to people to go buy it on Amazon. That is normal. They don't want that to stop. Again, my unsolicited opinion here. Let's start wrapping this up. I want to reemphasize here that I'm here to give 100% free support to any sellers that feel like they were, negatively impacted by this clarification on their ranking methods. I'd love to give you any advice possible. I'm rooting for you. I've been there when Amazon makes a rule change in the past that I was really relying on, and it negatively impacted me. I'd like to also say that I'm 100% there for any softwares that, got that Thanos snap or may get it in the future regarding this. Support you guys, love what you guys do. I'm here for you in any way possible. And I want to say to everyone that's been reaching out to me, asking me my opinion on this, or will this work, or will that work, and you're in this state of uncertainty. Well, it's all a little uncertain right now. I mean, it's a forum post. It's a very clearly written, which is anywhere else this be normal, but it's a very clearly written, which is super abnormal for Amazon, a very clearly written forum post as of right now. There is no official terms of service change. And when that happens, I'm positive I will look at these rules. I'm going to look at it with the intention over literal. I'm going to form an opinion on this, and then I'm going to make any necessary changes in my business to make sure that I'm in compliance. I'm also going to begin any advice that I've been giving. If it's outdated, I'm going to change that, and things that I would recommend on this podcast would change too once the terms of service is changed. But again, right now, that has not happened. In the meantime, look at the terms of service as something that, look at the forum post as something that could be coming, and get your business ready for it. Keep crushing it during this Q4, because we are in Q4. We got enough on our plates as it is. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts with this. Will this rule change negatively impact your launch and scaling on Amazon? And if so, what are you planning to do now? Are you planning to make any changes at all as it pertains to product selection, frequency of product launches, or the way you go about launching products? I would love to talk to you about this in our free Wizards of Ecom Telegram group chat, and ask me, and just when you get in the chat, ask me any questions you have about this, or share what you think about this episode, what you plan on doing differently, if anything. You could even just jump in there and say, I don't plan on doing anything different. But I would love to have this conversation with you. By sharing this and by talking openly about it, all sellers will be helped. And you can join the group by going to amazongroupchat.com. Keep crushing in your business. Much love, and I look forward to talking to you next week. It was fun sharing this episode with you. If you found value in what you've heard, please show your love with a subscribe, rate, and review of the show. Until next time.